The relationship between Yuabach and Ryu has always been one of the biggest mysteries in the manga. The manga ended without us knowing the true nature of Yuabach's connection to Ryu. When was he born, and if he's really his son? And where Yuabach lived before all of this? These are all questions without answers. But now it seems the anime in its second season is determined to give us the final answer to this mystery surrounding these two characters. However, with the flashback showing Ryu dividing the internal world and Yuabach appearing in that world, two important questions arise. How did Ryu create those worlds? And why doesn't he have control over hell? That's why, guys, in this video, we will talk about the internal world where Ryu and Yuabach lived and how the new worlds were created. We will also discuss what Ryugo narrator said in one of his tweets about episode 3 of this part, where he mentioned that hell seems to be separate from the three worlds controlled by Ryu. Although the flashback at the start of episode 2 gave us some information about Ryu and Yuabach, there are still many questions. For example, the nature of that internal world Yuabach spoke about. What was it like? And who lived there? In the flashback, we see Ryu in a place resembling a sea, and since we're talking about a time before the creation of the three bleach worlds, the waters and the state of that place reminded me of something found in the Shinto mythology. The earth before its known form was a mass of floating waters. So it could be that the internal world in some times was like that. And this made me think, guys, of the theory. Why was Ryu surrounded by all that water? And I based it on something found in a novel set by Ichibi and from the manga, from scenes of chapter 614. So according to the monk, the old world started in chaos. It took a long time before things settled down, with hollows becoming part of the Rishi cycle. Ichibi mentioned that humans lived in that world, which didn't yet know the concept of life and death. And this explains why Yuabach called it internal. And since humans lived there, that world must have looked normal, especially when we look at Ryu's outfit. He was wearing normal clothes. We can say that the old world was similar to the Serity and Reikongai environment, but included hollows. There was also a pit, whose location we don't know, but that pit later became hell. And we will talk about it later. However, guys, things started to change when the hollows began eating humans. The Rishi cycle stopped, and if things continued like that, a giant minus would have formed, and things would have gotten worse. So in that critical situation, Ichibi said that Ryu was born, but we don't know how. As we know from the novel, Ryu had 4 powers: Shinigami, Human, Quincy, and Fourbringer. But it seems his main power used to fight hollows was Quincy power, as he was turning them to Richie sand. That's why the power that Ryu used to destroy the hollows made the ancestor of the Tsuneyashiro fearful, while the ancestor of Shiba clan thought that hollows shouldn't be destroyed, but purified instead. And as we know, purification is the Shinigami's role in dealing with hollows, while destruction is the Quincy way of killing hollows. The name Quincy even means monk of destruction. And this, guys, makes us understand a scary truth. The ancestors of the Shinigami were the first to reject Quincy's power, believing it didn't align with the world's natural order. If the ancestors had an issue with destructive power of Ryu, it's only natural that they would also have a big problem with his son Yuabach, who inherited the Quincy power. And here, guys, we come to what I call Yuabach's first birth in the internal world. We have no information on how Ryu was born, nor how exactly Yuabach was born in that internal world. But all we have and all we know is that Yuabach wants to return things to how they were in that world, and he calls Ryu father. And Shinjimaru said that Ryu abandoned his son. We also have a scene of Yuabach as a child or as a kid inside the water of that world. And in the novel, guys, we can find that the ancestors asked Ryu's power to create a new system because the internal world was heading toward chaos. That's why I think the water we saw in that flashback is one of the results of that chaos. In my personal opinion, that water is a product of the chaos in that world, and it's likely that the old world was being flooded with water. And more than that, guys, maybe that water wasn't even a water. It could be a substance resulting from the world's chaos. In the manga there are scenes showing something similar. When the Quincy destroyed many hollows at the start of the arc, it caused distortions between the Dangai, Soul Society, and the human world. And those distortions created a liquid, which Kiski asked Yoriichi to gather samples of it, while the Vizard refined it to use as energy to create a gate to the royal palace. But what surprised me the most, guys, is when Rocky thought that liquid would wet her clothes when she tried to enter, and later she realized that it wasn't water. Kiski explained to her that it was a substance caused by distortions between the Dangai Soul Society and the human world. And based on what Kiski said, I think that maybe this substance is the same one surrounding Ryo. His clothes didn't look wet even though he was inside it. And since that substance comes from distortions between worlds, it's possible that the internal world was in such chaos, and that this substance appeared in a large amounts, and this might have led Ryo to divide the world into the worlds we know. And also, guys, we need to understand that Kiski created the gate by merging the power of the substance with the spiritual energy of the captains, using those orbs he gave them. And this made me think that Ryo might have used the same method when he was about to divide the worlds. He could have used his spiritual power with his sword acting as an orb to divide the world. And this explains why that substance appears when distortions happen. It could be the material used by Ryo to create the worlds, Soul Society, the human world, and Wikomondo, and the Dangai, which Yuabach mentioned in episode 3. So the Dangai acts like the link between the worlds. And now, guys, let's talk about the Hell. When Ichigo cut down Ryo, the worlds affected by his death were Soul Society, Wikomondo, and human world, and even the Dangai. So the writer of the novel Can't Fear Your Own World, Ryuko Narita, mentioned in a tweet that Hell is not connected to the other worlds, meaning it is a separate world. And he also said that he is so excited about the Hell arc. And from his words, guys, we can confirm that Hell is not under Ryo's control. So the question is, why? Why can't Ryo control that world? The answer, in my opinion, is related to how Ryo divided the old world and the nature of the Hell itself. In the novel, it was mentioned that Hell was originally a pit. Yes, a pit that the noble family wanted to cover. And Hell wasn't a land. That's how I imagine it. It was a pit. So Ryo only divided the land of the old world into 3 parts: Soul Society, Wikomondo, and the human world. And he didn't turn Hell into a world under his control because there wasn't enough material for it to become a proper world. That's why I think the pit might have been managed by the unknown noble family who established its laws and built its gate. That's why Hell became independent from Ryo's control, which would explain why it wasn't affected by the king's death. And it seems that the factor determining Hell's connection to the other worlds is Ryatsu. There must be a certain level of Ryatsu for Hell to connect with the other worlds, and any increase in Ryatsu causes the gates of the Hell to be open, as we saw in the one-shot. And then, guys, what do you think about what I have said, how Ryo created the worlds, and why he can't have control over that world of Hell? Tell me, guys, your opinions in the comments, and see you in my next video.